current affairs, what is happening in the country, and above what is happening in the global fraternity. Some somber moment, you know, the world being treated to this sad news. That is yesterday, the demise of the Queen, who was born in 1926 and died in 2022, Queen Elizabeth II. And of course, Britain's longest serving monarch has died, and this is at the age of 96 after reigning for about 70 cool years. And this, as reported, her family had gathered at her estate in Balmoral after concerns grew about her health. And I think yesterday we're just trying to follow up the news, and as bit by bit later in the evening is when this news then was out. By the time I was listening to this, that is during the day, it was that the doctors were concerned about her health. And this is coming slightly, you know, like a week, days after then Britain got a new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, taking the reign from Boris Johnson. We all understand how instrumental a move this is upon that resignation. And most importantly, as this, of course, kingdom then looks forward to forge forward. And you know very well that theirs is a watch that is not just within their kingdom, but cuts across even unto a majority of African countries that have been, you know, their colonies, including our very own Kenya. And so as we get into this conversation, not to delve much into it, because we'll be carrying stories and, you know, so much so of the Queen's profile and how then this is going to be taken over and by who, and just to look at what then is left of the kingdom that has been a little bit shaky, with, you know, treating us to so much so of news upon also the exit of the Duchess of Sussex alongside the husband, you know, after that, you know, say nice marriage moment, and you know, that one that was celebrated across the global fraternity, they decided to go out of the kingdom, something that wasn't received so well. So amidst all this, she managed to keep the monarch pretty much, you know, in order, and therefore there's that need to celebrate her. We started by saying that we have a gentleman who's been here long enough and in a retired major, and a person who wears very many caps. If I'm to start speaking of what he's done, you know, the education background and a majority of stuff that he's done in terms of work in the country, then I think I'd speak of all this until the cows come back home. And therefore, we're delighted to have Mwithi Peter Sami in our midst. He's the gentleman seated somewhere the center, and therefore Kigoli Edwin, who's at his side, definitely will learn something that would be very, very instrumental in his life and also in his ambition, especially in this world of politics. And equally, same applies to Callistus Wafula, who's a politician and equally was running for the position of Embakasi South.
Yes.
Embakasi South, well, and successfully. But we also say you have to celebrate those ones that come out to, you know, offer themselves to take up the mandate of leadership. And therefore, Wafula, we celebrate and appreciate your presence as well in studio this morning. Major.
Thank you.
The Queen. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for finding time to be with us.
Thank you.
Perhaps you're the only one who can give us a small story about the Queen.
Thank you very much, Linda. Let me first of all appreciate the fact that you have called us.
Thank you.
To try and dissect very many issues that affect our country at this moment when we are transiting to a new regime. Right. With the Queen, I think we have a relationship with the United Kingdom, as you have said, because this very Queen who passed yesterday evening, she got her news that her father had passed on so that she could fly back to Britain to assume the queendom. She was in Nanyuki, I think, just coming for an holiday. Right. And we have that relationship. Yeah. And Kenya is being mentioned in many, many arenas because of our integrity. And let us not forget the past part of history that United Kingdom, Kenya was a colony of United Kingdom. And being that, Queen is the leader of the Commonwealth. Those countries who were colonized by the Britain, by the virtue of that, we are members of the Commonwealth. And Queen Elizabeth is an icon. She is a lady who is celebrated globally, and I think we are mourning her. We are mourning her. We have a lot of ties with Britain. Britain, as it is, has a lot of investment here in this country, and we are so close. You remember our founding father, Kenyatta, I think was educated in Britain, and we had a lot of ties. Although the ties went down now as we proceed. But we are attached so much to Britain, and most of our political leaders actually got education from Britain. And it's a country that will, for a long time, be associated with Kenya.
Yes, indeed. And they are our colonizers that we cannot run away. We speak their very own English. Kigoli, what do you make of this historic moment for the people of Kenya, for Africa at large, and equally the United Kingdom?
Well, it is sad that the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth have lost a queen, but then again it is also ushering in a new era of King Charles, who is going to take over the reins as the head of state of Great Britain. And this is a natural incident, and therefore we celebrate her life. 96 years is not a joke in this current world, and may God rest her soul in peace. And I know that King Charles will ably take over the reins of the United Kingdom.
In all the stories that we've heard about the kingdom, she has managed, even at such an old age, to keep things calm, you know, to manage the monarch such that it sounds like it's all good, all systems go. And she has not lost this, perhaps different from what people would expect from a woman, you know, at the top of the reign. Equally speaking volumes to those that are women out there in terms of the capabilities, their capabilities to take up even a nation and run activities and have things in order and run them to the best of their capacity.
I think, Linda, what I can say, that we are mourning the death of Queen, but we as a country we do not learn much from what Britain has been doing, because when you look at our leadership, we are still fighting with things that so many countries have forgotten about it. So, as a country, I think the death of Queen should inspire us. We should also rethink on our leadership to see how we can improve our general well-being of our country. Because when you look at how we are doing politics as compared to the Britain, we are totally different. In Kenya, we have never seen someone resigning on duty because he has failed to deliver on the promises he has promised people. But we have seen in Britain, when the Prime Minister is unable to discharge his duties or her duties, he take a break. So I think this is the right time we also need to evaluate the kind of leadership we are having in the country. It's not just like mourning the Queen. Actually it's a celebration. Reaching 76 is not, 96 is not a joke. Yes. All
right, and yes, indeed a celebration. I think we ran with that at 96 and having achieved so much in terms of keeping not just the United Kingdom, but generally the global fraternity check. Indeed is someone we are supposed to celebrate. Let's come back home and talk about the Parliament. We saw our parliamentarians taking the oath of office yesterday, being sworn in to officially take up the mantle as we look forward to Tuesday, where then we'll have the president-elect inaugurated. I mean, new reign. What are your expectations, Kigoli?
Well, first of all, this parliament is coming in at a time when the nation is grappling with very serious issues. We have responsibility to deal on economy, on creating jobs for the graduates that are being churned into the job market. This parliament is also coming at a time when the country has to deal with the issue of public debt, which is just about 70% of the GDP, which of course, if it hits 70% margin according to World Bank, it denies the country an opportunity to invest significantly, meaning we will not see significant number of people getting formal employment, because if government cannot invest, then government cannot create jobs. We need the government to invest. And then again, yesterday what we witnessed was in accordance with Article 106 of the Kenyan Constitution, that requires every newly elected parliament to transact the business of swearing in MPs and subsequently electing the speaker and the deputy speaker. And we saw that, and in Senate it was a bit acrimonious, if so to speak, where we saw the Azimio allied, some of them walk out of Senate, alleging a number of things, how truthful they themselves can tell. But then again, it is good that we have a fully constituted bicameral house, that is the National Assembly and the Senate. And moving forward, we will see how they'll be transacting the business, if they will be impartial or will serve at the behest of the executive. Parliament has been, I think, the weakest link in terms of governance and administration in this country. We've seen the judiciary really step up the wheels of justice, and they can say no to the executive, but Parliament, especially the 12th Parliament, has been a surrogate of the executive. They would pass bills, they would amend laws to favor the executive or in the direction that the executive points, which has had a net effect on the final output of bills. You saw the 16% VAT. It sailed through the House of Parliament without MPs noticing that thing is going to come into effect for the next 1 year. Now we are at the due date, and MPs are asking, how did this piece of legislation sail through this House without us noticing? That speaks to how unserious some of the MPs are in the National Assembly and in the Senate. So we'll be seeing if this is a serious house, because it is facing some serious times.
And we come to you, Major, and look at the fact that in as much as we'd want for us to have a parliament that speaks to the needs and to the desires and to the interests of the people, these parliamentarians in most cases get or sail into parliament courtesy of parties, and therefore there's always that party position that would precede any move that they make. Do you suppose that, I have had a couple of them, and I'm glad that you keep watching us, and they have told us that they seek to make sure that they'll be going there to speak the interests of the people, as opposed to be, whipped to go into the line of the executive or party lines. Is it possible for them to just articulate matters without looking at the party position?
Linda, I think you'll allow me, first of all, like any other senior citizen, to congratulate the President-elect, Dr. Ruto, my governor. I come from Tharaka-Nithi County, that is Muthomi Njoki, and of course my MCA, who is Kenywa, and the rest of those people who actually never made it, like my colleague here. Because in a world of competition, we must have a losing side and a winning side. Coming back to your question, I think we have a problem in this country. And Linda, most of the political analysts who have come in this studio have already analyzed that the problem which we have in this country is our political leaders. Our political leaders have what we call political interest. Remember, we are coming out of a political pandemic. That is political tsunami. We had elections are over, but most of our political leaders are still there. And that is what my colleague was trying to speak about, what happened in both Senates. Now, I don't think our parliament is going to do exactly what is its role, because its role is to look at the laws, enact good laws that are going to benefit these mama mboga, the mwananchi wa kawaida. But quite often, even in the 12th parliament, Linda, if you are observing very carefully, there were money exchanges this. And we are again in that cocoon of corruption. And our leaders, instead of portraying and exhibiting good leadership and integrity, they go there for their own self-interest. So I don't have a lot of faith in them unless things happen, because politicians are always politicians. And politicians, what they look, first of all, is their tumbos, their interest, nothing else. But let us be very optimistic and pray for them. And maybe, as our president-elect says, if it doesn't fuse the parliaments with the executive, and they are given independence that they deserve, and they do what we want, then I think we are going to move this country much better than the 12th parliament and the other parliaments. That is my wish.
Even before they are sworn in, even before they speak, they pick a speaker, you can already see that there are allegations of some corrupt activities ongoing. That is why then you see Kalonzo Musyoka, who had presented his papers to come in or to be incorporated in, and perhaps have the vote in favor of him so that he would serve as Speaker of the Senate. Then he decides to withdraw. When he withdraws, of course, everyone is asking what could have informed this. Has he been spoken to by the other side? You know, is this politically instigated? Generally, it's a game of politics, and therefore you'd say it's politically instigated. But he says that I was well guided by my party and Azimio top leader or leadership after we realized the process was marred by corruption. We have not had the Senate sworn in. We have not had the House sworn in, that is the National Assembly. But we already have allegations of corruption. Does it really get us to a point where Major says then we might not have so much so of faith?
Linda, what I can tell you, Kalonzo is just part of Kenya Kwanza. If you look at how they conducted campaign, Kalonzo was not visible enough to campaign for Raila. In fact, I just want to congratulate Kambas for standing with the BAMBA, because this man was not for BAMBA. Even the issue of parliament, when he presented papers, he wasn't serious because he was engaging the Kenya Kwanza team. And I think they told him to withdraw the last minute. You know, even William Ruto is also struggling to control the houses. Let him not tell us that we want a strong opposition. Every government will want to control everything so that they cannot allow opposition to sabotage the government agenda. What I can tell you, I was running for a member of parliament, and my issue has been is that we have a parliament, a dysfunctional parliament, a parliament that is not answerable to the people. When you look at how we have been transacting business when it comes to budget, when it comes to important matters concerning the country, our members of parliament have been always been bribed, just like the senior, the Major Senior has said. They have been corrupt people. They have never been serving the interest of the people. The country right now, when you look at our GTB, it is around 15 trillion. And what we are able to collect has, what the taxman can collect, the target is 1.7 trillion. So it means we have a fraction of people who don't pay taxes. And these people have not been paying taxes since independence. Therefore, the only way we can enforce, we can bring development and pay Chinese debt is by enforcing tax measures to ensure the people who own properties in this country, people who call themselves their first family or number what family, they need to pay taxes. There's no way you can have commercial properties here, then you say you are not paying taxes. And when you calculate the percentage of people who are not paying taxes, it forms like 60%.
Are
so
you
we are only
getting
relying,
the first family directly?
I'm not getting first family directly because there are so many people who are not paying taxes. Even those people normally, each and every election, you see some people grouping themselves, calling themselves, we are billionaires, we want to sponsor your candidates. After sponsoring you, they expect you to allow them to transact business without paying taxes. And that has been an issue. When we compare ourselves with other countries, Kenya is rated, our GDP, we are almost number 7 in the whole of Africa. But the rate of jobless in our country is so high. So what I'm expecting from the parliament and from the Kenya Kwanza government is that they enforce tax measures to ensure that nobody is spared. Again, we also need to look at, when you define GDP, it is about investment plus consumption plus what we call export, net export. So when we look at what we produce in the country, you realize that Kenya, we are having a problem because what is made in Kenya is not felt anywhere. There's nothing we can say we are producing as a country that can give us a return that can employ our people. So manufacturing sector, I expect the president-elect to put more resources in manufacturing sector so that he can reput in our industry, and then we start also creating employment, because there are so many items we are consuming so many items from which are just imports. We are just consumers of imports. So the only way we can be able to improve our economy is when we minimize imports and maximize export. And we also need to protect our industries. For instance, we are producing sugar. Then we have allowed cheap sugar on market. The only way we can be able to help our country achieve what we call industrialization, we need to discourage imports of the items we are able to produce in the country. We are importing matchsticks, we are importing toothpick, we are importing plastic items. These are things that are supposed to be manufactured in Kenya. We cannot say that as a country we are producing drinking water. What we can produce is only drinking water.
Okay.
And that
sometimes can be natural,
so,
yeah?
We also need to see how can we improve our products that we are able to produce as a country. Then from the leadership, William Ruto has promised this country, and I want to celebrate him because he has defeated the outgoing government. I can tell you that he is a failed government.
He was part of the government. He was,
but he was
a government that he was in.
If you look at the constitution, the deputy president is just like a secretary.
Do you think we need to adjust that at some point in time? Because that is a reality, and we have a very powerful deputy president in the name of Rigathi Gachagua.
For instance, I cannot tell you, we cannot blame Rigathi Gachagua for the mistake done by William Ruto. The government is fully in the hand of William Ruto.
This is a presidency, Wafula. You are privy to this.
But you cannot
confidently say that, then Ruto can enjoy the gains and celebrate and appreciate and say he can be celebrated when Jubilee government has done well, and therefore when it has not done well, it has not done a good job, then we do not really align him to that.
William Ruto, we can hold him responsible in the first term. In the second term, there are a number of issues that William Ruto himself raised, and he was opposing or making. He refused to be part of so many things, and he also started complaining. In fact, most of people treat William Ruto as an opposition person. So the fact that they ran on a
person, or he decided to take.
He decided to take a break from the government because he didn't believe in whatever they were doing. You realize that in the second term, we spent like 2 years discussing BBI. Then there was Utumanamba, things that we wasted a lot of resources.
Anyway, we'd want to look at that as water under the bridge, but then again, we have to learn from the previous mistakes that we've made, that we can celebrate, the gains of Jubilee and, as well align Ruto's name in that. But when it comes to the failures, then we do not align him with that. And while we speak about the Constitution and what it says a deputy should do you suppose there's need to make adjustments so that in future, then we do not have such a scenario playing out? Like I say, we have a very strong personality, and a person who's well learned, a person who understands business, a person who's a reviver when it comes to the question of economies and making finance and making money, as well as just playing around with finances in Rigathi Gachagua. But we're just going to treat him to the same thing that the Constitution then speaks about, and then perhaps 5 years down or 7 years down, we speak of the same problems that we had.
Well, when you look at Chapter 9 of the Kenyan Constitution, you will realize that the Deputy President is the principal assistant to the President. And we cannot have two centers of power. When you interrogate Article 146 of the Kenyan Constitution, it will speak to these facts. Because if we have two centers of power, that could cause some confusion. We do not want a powerful deputy president who can easily challenge our president. We want to receive commands from a single source, so that if the president has not spoken, then we are not doing anything. Unless the commander speaks, and a retired Major General will attest to that. Now, the person of, say, Rigathi Gachagua, he has to play within the provisions of the Kenyan Constitution. If you look at what Azimio are trying to do, is to give some functions or ministerial functions to a deputy president, where Raila had said that Martha Karua would be in charge of justice.
And don't you think the Ruto government might need to consider that? And when you say the confines of the Constitution, it is clear that it is the president then to accord duties to the deputy, and therefore that would be in order. If the president would term it right to say it's fine, I would accord you a ministerial position, say, just to have you more active, and of course just for us to tap into what it is that you can present for the people of Kenya, as opposed to what we saw with President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. Yeah,
the president has the constitutional leeway to allocate a function. It could be a ministerial function to a deputy president, you know, principal assistant, and perform any other duty as the president may assign. So it would be the prerogative of the president to say, I want my deputy president to be in charge of home affairs, I want him to be in charge of constitutional affairs, I want him to be in charge of anything that the president might deem fit. Now, moving forward, we do not need a constitutional change to allocate functions to a deputy president. The framers of the Kenyan Constitution, in their own wisdom, and I agree with them, decided to make the deputy president a principal assistant to the president. You want to imagine the deputy, say for example, CEO, has executive functions, all right? Their word can mean everything, you understand? So that can create an acrimony or confusion. Now, the deputy CEO who has executive roles or executive power, and the CEO who has executive power. So which is which? And just as I said, like in the military, they know the commander. They know this is the boss who is supposed to instruct me. And when they give instructions, that is what is to be followed. In this country, I believe we made tremendous progress in terms of legislation, in terms of constitutional adherence, and what we have is working. What we have is feasible, is practical, and it is solid. It is just us to respect and tame our ambition, so that if I'm a deputy, can I live within the meaning of being a deputy, rather than wanting to outsmart, outrun my boss. Because William Ruto will expect Rigathi Gachagua to be respectful, to be cooperating, so that they are able to realize the agenda that they promised. Because, Linda, you realize, Deputy President, now President-elect, promised quite a lot of things, especially on the issues of productivity, on the issues of agriculture, you know, making sure that this country's economy is put on an irreversible trajectory. Now, the reality on the ground is that he is inheriting a government that is deeply dented by public debt, all right? He's inheriting a country at a time when the economy is really struggling, at a time when the population is growing disproportionately to the way the economy is growing. We need our economy to grow commensurate to the number of young people who are coming up. We've got so much industry, so much innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship of our young people, especially at the technical training institutions and also at our institutions of higher learning like the universities. But these people's effort in terms of this creativity item is not being tapped into sufficiently, all right? We saw Kenyatta University students, you know, develop the COVID-19 management machine. So what did we do about it so far? Now, this country is ranked among the best in Africa. I think it's top 5 in terms of in terms of productivity, innovation, creativity, in terms of technological advancement. But then again, what are we doing with it? KRA has been on a run to tax every single upcoming venture. You know, if we overtax the entrepreneurship on the internet, and then we are limiting or putting a caveat on productivity, because many young people might not afford to rent a stall somewhere to run their business, but they'll be very good in terms of utilizing the internet space in like, you know, this online business, and that is helping to create alternative sources of employment.
Hold it right there,
if the KRA is a challenge, then we are still facing issues to do with now. How are we diverse? How are we pragmatic?
You see, that's quite a thin line when it comes to the question of taxes, to know whether then this will, you know, perhaps pinch the taxpayer further, or this is necessary for the growth of the nation. Major, allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back on that very note, perhaps to understand some more. And we're looking at these two gentlemen to see what then they bring in store for the people of Kenya.
Stories. J. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m.
Hi and welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
We continue to provide the platform that aims to inform and educate on business-related matter. We are here to ask all the relevant questions on your behalf.
When it comes to a catering business, do you need licenses?
Yeah, a lot of it.
And inform you what is happening in the business arena. Be sure to stay tuned. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefit.
Starting this September at 8:30 p.m.
Hi and welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
We continue to provide the platform that aims to inform and educate on business-related matter. We are here to ask all the relevant questions on your behalf.
When it comes to a catering business, do you need licenses?
Yeah, a lot of it.
And inform you what is happening in the business arena. Be sure to stay tuned. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
wants to, you know, invade the spaces of creativity to make and to arc a living. But when we look at this and we say, please do not hurt them so hard in terms of the taxes, where do we then get to create a balance? I remember when we're talking about the BBI, there were the sweeteners that were incorporated that, oh, we're going to give you a tax break. And Kenyans came out to say that we really do not want tax breaks. We want to pay tax. Just give us a conducive environment to conduct business. How conducive can it get when the taxes are extremely, you know, overboard?
Now, Linda, I think the problem in this country is an issue I've already discussed. It has been discussed in the media, in the political arenas, the issue of corruption. The issue of corruption. I think our president-elect will have to tackle, right at the root, the corruption. The issue of employment, there's a lot of employment in this. The Kenyan people, as I said earlier, are very enterprising. They are very hardworking. You'll find that they are everywhere looking for money, morning, night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, the problem is our political leaders do not have priorities. Like in our youth, these guys can employ themselves. Imagine during the Kibaki era, the boda they are talking about, and I'm happy that that the president-elect said that he's going to put a lot of emphasis on the boda and mama mboga. The boda sector is one big sector which can bring a lot of money and create job opportunities for the young people in this country. During Kibaki's era, when the other regime did not want us to bring importation of these bodas, I can remember the boxer used to cost about 80,000. Down the line, it is now almost 200. I remember where I come from, Tonyai. I was a chairman of the boda in our community, and we had many societies there. But I think 2 or 3 from Tonyai, where I come from. And what I told the young men to do is to go and have, of course, the land where I come from is a big, not like in Kiambu, where we have small, so land has been segmented to small plots. Now, they go have about 4 acres or 2 acres, wanalima, wanapanda dengu, wanauza, wanapeleka for those societies, they get the loan. But the interest of that loan is too high. You see, if the bodas could be exempted from maybe VAT, at least substantial for them to enable them to own these bodas, very many youth could have bodas. And you know, our road infrastructure network in the countryside is not very good. So it is these bodas can penetrate there, bring people to the urban areas, to the townships, to the markets, and we develop so many things. Another area that I should answer you, Linda, is Kenya is one of the most taxed countries in this country. And we don't care, you can tax me 100%, but where does that money go? If that money is taxed, because Kenyans are willing to pay taxes, and they're doing it actually. And as my friend said, it is the majority who are mama bogas, the youth who are trying to go in technology and get money. They're the ones who are taxed. Most of our senior fellows in this country don't pay taxes as required by the KRA, which is the agent, because of what? Corruption. You know. So if you look at the technology, my colleague has said, with the technology that is there, our youth can able to make a lot. But if these computers and what have you and electrical appliances are taxed heavily, how else would you, Linda, expect a young man like this one to have money? He has just come from school. He is there. He has no money. I think our president has a lot of work to do. And another problem we have in this country is that most of that upper class, which is a bit wealthy, and they don't want to pay taxes, and they don't want to follow the rule of law. The rule of law in this country is followed by the mwananchi wa kawaida. These guys up there, they don't care. They don't care at all. Our president is going to struggle a lot to bring people to the senses of following the rule of law. The development in every country which is developing, it starts from the rule of law. Some people cannot be expected to follow the rule of law, while the others cannot. And we go back to the parliament again. Who are the makers of these laws? They don't follow the rule of law.
That's true.
Because they are wealthy, they can do anything. For example, when you're on the road, you make a simple mistake on the traffic rules. Then you call your brother. Hello? He calls the base commander, whatever, but you are released.
Yeah.
See, this kind of integrity that our leaders are showing us, mostly the political leaders, it must change for our country to move forward.
Well, interesting views right there. And we'll be coming to what then the president-elect is to face in terms of leadership, while he would want to point a finger at the previous government which he sat in terms of, it having not performed well. Really, he does not face an easy task ahead. The celebration moment is over. Upon that moment of inauguration and swearing in, I think it will be now systems go for him. So much expectation. But even before it gets to that level, the House is very, very important, is at the heart of every activity of development and growth of a nation. The National Assembly as well as the Senate. We have the faces of Wetangula and Emerson Kingi alongside their deputies. What to expect?
I think the two are long-term serving members of National Assembly. The Deputy President is an ambitious person. And what he promised people, I believe he's going to deliver.
Before we go to the Deputy President, the National Assembly.
The National Assembly, the leadership, I've just told you that the leadership have been grabbed by the government. So you don't expect...
As early as now, you can say Wetangula has been...
Yes, Wetangula, they used all means to ensure that Wetangula is the speaker.
Yes.
So that one, it tells you that
it was by design.
Even the government want to control the houses. So we are going to have issues because you can see the opposition is very weak. When you miss somebody of a Raila stature on stage, then you don't expect a lot. These people are just there, but they cannot do much. We also want to appeal to Raila Odinga not to retire, because I don't think this is the right time to retire.
Is it?
He need to organize his troops in parliament so that to put this government on check. And Raila Odinga will be very significant for the person who would win in 2027. So let William Ruto also not to undermine the Raila Odinga, because in 2027 he's just in the corner. He will come up with somebody, and that somebody might defeat him if he has not delivered on the promises he promised Kenyans. Well, let us not about taxes. I have, for the reason that all of us, we need to pay taxes, including whether you are doing renovation or we are doing you are coming up with a new technology. We need to pay tax. What is hindering our success in Kenya? There are so many licenses. I think that is a problem, because when you look at, like in the milk industry, there is a monopoly. And I think this is the right time I want to tell the president-elect that we need to bring Masiwa Kenya. I think we need to have a Masiwa Kenya where a packet is just like 30 shillings. So that whoever bought all these companies to increase milk, and yet prices, a farmer, farmers are still selling their milk at a cost of 30 shillings per liter. Then once it has been taken, wametoa your cream, then they bring on market a liter at around 140. So it is unfair business that this government must handle. We need to end monopoly in milk industry. We need also to look at how we can increase productivity. And I've just told you that when you look at our GDP is 15 trillion. So it means the country should be collecting around 6 trillion from tax. But when you look at the general national income, we are collecting below 1.7 trillion. And that is the reason why we are facing high national debt. So if William Ruto want to pay the Chinese debt, he just need to enforce tax measures to ensure these senior people who are not paying taxes, who have not been paying taxes since independence. They start paying taxes, then also to remove those licenses that are hindering business. Those licenses have encouraged corruption. Police are moving up and down, picking money from the people, from shops. So we want to end corruption by ensuring that we keep conducive environment to do business in the country. That one will help us end corruption. It will also help us increase what government can get. Because when you increase, when you make it impossible for me to get a license, then I will find a means of doing my business. So I will talk to a policeman if I'm running a wine and spirit shop. He will be coming and picking 100 shillings every day. So the country, the government is losing a lot of money just because of the mistakes these people have created.
Right.
And all those mistakes were created by our houses, two houses, the Senate and the National Assembly. Yes.
All right, yes, Major.
There's something burning here. As we are in this panel, we are shaping the opinion of our citizens out there. And I think from the cry of the people, which I think our President-elect will address as soon as possible, not even 100 days, the prerequisite of development in any country is based upon the premise of peace.
Right.
And there cannot be peace without justice. And there cannot be justice without peace.
Yes.
Linda, for sure, people are hungry out there. What the president needs to do right now, before any other thing, is try to stabilize the foodstuffs, the basic foodstuffs of that mama mboga.
Yes.
Beginning with the unga. Unga now is rating at what?
200.
200
250.
200 to 30.
Yeah.
Yes.
Up from?
Up from around 100.
100
Yeah.
and 500.
Can you imagine? These are the people who want to eat ugali, and most of them are not employed. Secondly, the cooking oil. Although we have a problem with the Ukrainian and Russian war, I don't think, to my mind, that the price of cooking oil should go that high.
Yeah.
Thirdly, milk, which is supposed to be used by our school children,
Yes.
whom we really like them, and we want them to get education so that they can come and get the mantle of leadership of this country. The other one is mukate. Mukate now, how many grams? Is about 60, 90, the big one.
400 grams.
400 grams.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we have petrol, which has already gone up. Before the Ukrainian-Russian war, the petrol was also going
Still,
down.
yeah.
And I hear some of these that are engaged in the business of fuel are from the cartels of the upper class people. I want to mention them. So I think our president should look back. In 100 days, try to stabilize. People are suffering out there.
What are the possibilities of this? Because we also need to view this realistically.
It's a will.
And perhaps try to imagine what could have informed this shoot up of prices. And, you know, under the watch of the outgoing government, there must have been reasons as to that, aside from corruption.
Is the corruption, lack of interest of the Monarchy, and the integrity. Now, let me try to face out the issue of our incoming president. As I know from the history, our president, and I don't want to praise him so that he can give me anything, but this is the reality and this is the truth. Kenyans, we need the truth. Our president, if you look at his history, from where he went to school, what he has done, he has been the assistant minister, he has been the minister for agriculture. In fact, when he was the minister for agriculture, he was one of the hard-working ministers. Yeah. And they did not understand, I don't know what happened with Raila. Raila didn't want to be questioned, and this guy questioned him. And then he was fired. He came again. You know, he has made an history in this country. Let us look at that. He is one of the vice president or deputy presidents who has ascended to power, to presidency at once. The others, like Kibaki, went to run for it, they missed, and the others, he has made history.
But Linda.
And I think to bring to the light of the people, let us give him a benefit of doubt.
Okay.
Many people have already given him the powers. We went to the voting, we gave him the vote. Now the problem is he should understand that this country is divided just at the middle. So he should unite. He should not take allegiance to others that did not vote for him.
And I'll come back to that with the words of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But yes,
Linda, this is it, yeah. As a young Kenyan, these are what I think are the issues not only within the territorial integrity of Kenya, but also leaping across Africa. How can it be DR Congo is the world's richest in natural resources, and also, in sharp contrast, it has one of the world's poorest populations? How can it be we had a productive and well-adored Mumias Sugar Company, and just in the blink of an eye, missing all the 3 targets set by COMESA to modernize production of sugar in Kenya, Mumias is down and almost out, all right? Now, the effort to revive Mumias has always met headwinds. You know, the steel mogul comes in and says, I'm ready to pump in 5 billion, but then again, there are other hurdles that are placed before him, and there is no goodwill, as just rightly as Major put it. Now, in Africa, China, after Russia and Saudi Arabia, imports oil from Angola. Now, Libya produces oil. All right. So how can it be that our oil, now even in Kenya here, all right, how can it be that we cannot just rally behind an idea like that of Aliko Dangote of Nigeria to refine our oil here, so that whatever crisis is happening in Russia and Ukraine, it really doesn't affect us that much, because we don't have now to use the waterways to get oil to the African continent.
But in this space where there is the question of integration, trading, you know, intertrading and all that, can we really say that we can get to a space that is safe enough to hugely manage ourselves without depending on the global fraternity? And even if we do, on instances where trouble is knocking, then the countries or the other countries would cough and we do not catch a cold.
You know, globalization and of course the inevitable integration plays a part because of now international trade. But then again, you must be self-sufficient. You must plan for tomorrow. There will always be a rainy day. So what do you need to do? Let me buy an umbrella and keep it in my house. Just in case I want to come to TV47 in the morning and it starts to run, I will not call you to tell you now it's raining and I can't come. I'll just use my umbrella. What I mean is this. If Africa, we are producing oil, actually we extract oil, can we refine it here? You know, can we have industries? Because industries drive GDP, you know, they create employment. It comes down to issue of prioritization. And this has been a major problem and stumbling block to the outgoing government. Now look, how do you propose is it a laptop or what was it? Something like that. To a standard 1 and leave out that from class 2 to form 4. All right. Now, in a world that is fast advancing on technology, couldn't we have said every public school to be installed with a computer lab, so that every student, every pupil has a chance for computer knowledge? You understand? There were challenges. Yes, it was a good promise, a good hype promise, but then again, the deliverables, but then again, the realities, maintenance, you understand, the security of those gadgets. But if we install computer labs right now, they could be serving, actually they can serve as many students as possible, and servicing and security is very easy to go around. Now, Ruto's government will get it right if they get it right on prioritization. They must know what to do. In terms of how they're going to fund their budget, it is down to them, because governments always have 2 main ways of raising revenue. One, on raising taxes on the citizens, or borrowing. So what are we going to do? Are we going to raise taxes on the citizens? You brought the issue of where is the balance in terms of taxation. Now, there is no single economy in this world that has grown or developed on overtaxing its citizens. If you overtax me, that means you're limiting my ability to purchase. And retail sales drive GDP directly. We want people to have money so that they engage in disposable income and they are able to make purchases. If you reduce general taxes and spread it to other taxes, items that attract tax. Say, instead of me paying 100 bob at once, you know, you can segment it so that in case I go to buy bread, I can pay 2 shillings of tax. You know, so that government is not like motivated by immediate and lump sum tax, but progressive and economy appealing tax, so that nobody feels muzzled out. Because right now, people don't have much disposable income. We cannot spend too much right now. People are holding on to whatever little they have. And our billionaires, mostly, they wouldn't want to invest their money. They are keeping their monies in bank, and that is not growing an economy. When you want to grow an economy, you have to take the money out of that bank, you have to go and invest it. If Major here opens a retail shop down in the village, that means he's going to employ 2 or 3 people. Those people are going to have an income. That person can easily go and make purchases somewhere else. And in turn, you'll find the ripple effect is being felt in the larger economy. When you look at the education sector, Linda, most of our universities, actually I would say almost all public universities, are grappling and struggling with the issue of debt. When they increase university fees, it is not because they want to invest in new technology. It's not because they want to invest in new resource or human resource. It is because they want to sustain their business model that is clearly not working. So that's why our universities are not that much centers of excellence, but rather academic institutions that have adopted a foreign business model that is clearly not working.
CBC
so
will bring some change.
No, we need to re-engineer, and you know, like
is
CBC
not re-engineering enough?
You see, in fact, we should not be talking about Magoha saying, I plead with Ruto not to scrap CBC. This thing should be self-infusing. You know, like people should be having integrity in the capacity that they'll be able to know, if we scrap CBC, of what net effect will it have on the general public? Because government has already invested in that CBC. There are pupils already, students who have been trained already. So do we want to reverse those gains? And what is the net effect? Now, finally, allow me to say this.
So that Wafula can come in.
Allow me to say this. In 2030, we are going to take stock of how we have realized the SDGs. In 2030, we are going to ask ourselves of what use was the Kenya Vision 2030. Now, are we going to reach to like it was in 2015, where we were to do digital migration and there was so much resistance? We are not ready. So when will you be ready? Now, I know we've lost about maybe 2 years to COVID-19, but then again, what have we done with all the time we've had? This government is going to have 5 years to ensure that the country is put on a remarkable pedestal that we will say, in Africa, we rank among the best in terms of realizing SDGs, in terms of ensuring that in this time and age, nobody is going hungry, no child is going to suffer from hunger and disease, and that management of public resources is in strict compliance with the PFM Act. If we do all this...
Say, you know, perhaps we're not going to get there from the way he's
no, he says we are going to get there. He says we are going to get there.
Are you in agreement? This, to me, sounds like, do we have a, you know, like any essence of hope that we are going to get to such spaces?
First of all, let me correct my friend. The government source of revenue is not borrowing. Borrowing is an alternative. There are 2 sources of revenue, national income.
Yes, general.
Just from investment, then tax. So borrowing is an alternative. When you are defeated, you are unable to do anything, you can now borrow. What I want to tell you, Linda, I told you that the issue in Kenya is not about tax or technology or anything or leadership. It is about corruption, just like the senior has said. Because if you look at our public companies, most of our public companies are making loss. And they have been making loss since independence. So I think the drastic measures that this government should take is to privatize, managerial privatization of all public companies.
Is it?
Yes.
And you know, we've had this conversation before as to whether then the parastatals should be.
Let me tell you, private companies
are doing well, yes?
They are doing well, and also they are efficient. If you give me managerial to run like Mia Sugar Company, for instance, then you give me resources, I will be able to deliver because my work is based on contract. Maybe let's say we can give retired Mecha Umia Sugar Company to ensure that that company is revived and everything is working. He will ensure, because he wants to also get rewarded, he will ensure that company is running.
And therefore, in this case, you say
corruption,
not to like privatize it in totality, or this is
managerial,
but just managerial
aspect, because we have sung, tumeongea sana about these issues of corruption, and when we allow government to run business, government should not be in business. Government should be only create enabling environment for business growth, and also to ensure that they protect our resources. And I've told you is what is made in Kenya is what will create employment.
All right. Wafula, allow us to take a short break on that very note, and perhaps have some 10 minutes to close it up after the same break.
Starting this September at 8:30 p.m.
Hi and welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
We continue to provide the platform that aims to inform and educate on business-related matter. We are here to ask all the relevant questions on your behalf.
When it comes to a catering business, do you need licenses?
Yeah, a lot of it.
And inform you what is happening in the business arena. Be sure to stay tuned. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefit.
Saturday at 9 a.m.
Great. Or we are importing that ngano. How do we call it ngano in English?
Wheat. Yes.
We're importing wheat when we have capacity to produce wheat. So I've told you what will create employment in Kenya is what is made in Kenya. There are so many things we are importing from outside the country, and the Indians came here to invest in manufacturing. Even Chinese, they came here to invest in manufacturing. But they realize Kenyans are so idle, they don't like themselves. So they have converted their companies, which were supposed to be producing items, they are now importing cheap items from their country, from India and from China. So they are making money, but their economy is suffering. Just the issue of tax is not an issue. We need to pay tax, as long as the government has provided conducive environment, and a managerial privatization needed by this government to ensure that they bring efficiency in management to at least make our public companies yield fruits for the people. Because there's no way you can tell me like Kenya Railway has been making laws since independence. And there are some people, when they tell you that hii ni kampuni ya serikali hatutaki iende kwa private, that is nonsense. We want to know how much have you been able to make from this company. If we are making zero money, then we rather do away with it, or we change the management. And I've told you, corruption will not end if we put business in the hands of government. Those who are in this government, they want to, they are politicians, because mostly you'll find that the public companies are being run by politicians. Myself have been on pilot. If I try to reach to the guys that we have been running with them on the road looking for votes, they will listen to me more than they listen to this young man. And maybe it's better than me. So I'm telling you, we have to ensure that the government is not in business. The government can only create a conducive environment, manage our properties, and ensure that we are paying taxes, and also enforce tax measures whereby there are no people who are spared when it comes to tax. About how we are going to ensure that all Kenyans have a place to work, and the increasing price of our products like the unga, foodstuffs. Those are the simplest things this government need to do. They need to ensure that farmers get enough fertilizers. They need to ensure that they are motivated, their products, because we reached a point whereby people used to produce a lot of maize in the country, and they were just useless, because one 50 kg of maize were at around, it cost around 1,200. So it discouraged farmers from investing in farming.
And therefore we need to understand, how do we create a balance at the same time, that while we cater for the needs of the general population, we also do not hurt some certain sectors. Like we rightfully put it, we'd love to see milk, produced. I remember there's a time that, I don't know whether Edwin Kigoli was there, but there are instances where we could even see milk being poured down, because where do we take it? Everybody is getting this. Perhaps there are no ways of farmers getting this produce to the market, and therefore we really did not have a balance as to the same. So as we focus on having economic emancipation, how do we create a balance in all these sectors?
I think, Linda, the problem here is priorities, as this young man said. Our priorities upside down, and they are mutilated by the political leaders. I'll again go to our political leaders. I know we cannot have utopian political leaders from heaven.
Yes.
It is our people, our brothers, but the new regime, I think what it should do right now from the onset is to try to inculcate right attitude of integrity, uzalendo kwa kila leader. I'll give you an example, and not because I'm coming from the Kenya Defense Forces. I have served this country in my capacity as a military officer in the KDF for 34 years. And I've seen, through the training that I've gone through, how I can work for my country, not me getting anything from my country, although I have a salary which sustains my family. I think we should have the right attitudes. Right. Now, if you look at the political realm, Linda, you are going to be given a job in this country because of how you align yourself to that political party, to somebody in the higher echelon of leadership, as opposed to your merit, standards of academic, your performances.
True.
I'll give you a very good example, which is my personal experience. I joined the army in 1980. I'm sorry to give you this personal, because I like giving an example of myself. I joined the army after finishing my A-levels. When I joined the army, I knew very well that what would sustain me in the army are two things. One, my performance, and also my education. So I went back to school. Okay. I did 2 diplomas, I did a degree, I did my first master's. Now I'm doing my PhD. But Linda, I come from a very marginalized tribe called Zarakanidi. I have served this country for 34 years. I am one of the officers who captured Kismayo. I'm not a politician, and I'm not a spokesman for the KDF. I'm one of those guys who captured Kismayo. I have worked for peace for United Nations in Eritrea and Ethiopia for about 1 year. I was an ambassador there. I was flagging the flag, or I was raising the flag of Kenya when I was there. I did a fantastic job. I worked in Rwanda 2004 for 1 good year on military engagement. I was working on behalf of my country, like those athletes who are doing it. But when it comes to be honored, we were talking with my friend before we came here. There are so many people who have skills, experience, and they retired from the government, not because of their age. It's because of procedures. At a certain time of your biological age and your working age, and others must also come in and get jobs. But we are not utilized. Some of us are ready to work, even without salaries, because the pension which we're having is a lot, Linda. Yeah. But where is the will? It is the political leaders. Wow. And let me use this forum for my own sake also, because everybody is interested.
Kila mtu ajiuze.
Kama Ruto hako pale, kuna watu wengi wameretire kumsaidia kazi, hata bila mshahara. Because most of the Kenyans are wanataka uzalendo. Kufanyia nini? Jeshi kazi. I'm one of those and many other officers who suppressed the mutiny of 1982 when they wanted to topple the Boy regime. But because we didn't want to come and steal and have big jobs in the army, we sustained that for the sake of this mwananchi out there. So there are many people, Linda, including yourself maybe. Right. Atupatie sisi kazi. Tuko hapa, and I'm not going like any other person kutegemea nani? Kutegemea mwanasiasa nipe kazi. I have the integrity, have the experience. Watu angalie tupewe kazi.
Kigoli, let me tell you, and I know time is not on our side.
Yes. At your post to watu kama sisi, wapewe nafasi. But in the previous regime, hawa vijana hawakuwa wanapata nafasi. But if we can invest in the resource of these young men, I'm telling you, Ruto will go forward.
Major, you've told us one of the best things this morning. I think I appreciate that. Major came all the way from, I don't know,
Rongai. Early in the morning.
All the way to this gate, somewhere on TV 47, somewhere, at the gate, and speaks to these people and tells them that, I'd wish to come and articulate matters of interest to the country, to the people, and then they picked his number. And I took the number from the officers, and perhaps just, I don't know, I decided let me make a phone call. And true to it, Major is here today. And look at the kind of advice and, information that it brings to the people. This that could have easily been wasted somewhere in Rongai if we did not give this chance. I hope that...
Linda, before I interrupt you, we should, every citizen, we should forget about tribal ethnicity. We are Kenyans. Let me tell you a very small 1 minute. In the armed forces, and that's why you see at the end of the reign of Uhuru Kenyatta, had a lot of faith in the military. Wamewapatia Kenya Mix, wamepatia Uhuru Gardens where they are perfecting that art, because waliona hawa watu wanaaminika, because of the attitude, the training. You understand? And one thing that is very important in this country now, that we have a new regime to wachana na mambo ya ukabila. If I show you my picture in the military attire, you'll find that here it is written Kenya, here it is my name. Hakuna ukabila. And Linda, today here in front of this your panel, if I fall down on, God forbid, heart attack, will you come and tell Wafula or this young man or your colleagues here, go and look for any person around here from Baraka and Ipeleke Memorial Hospital? No. You understand? So this nonsense of tribalism, surely it should end. We should have inclusivity. Makabila yote 40 sifuna ngapi? Matano, manne?
Tano hapo.
Tuwe hapo ndani. Na hata Wahindi wanachukua Wahindi. I'm not against them.
No, they're part of us.
Wakuje waingiliane na sisi.
They are Kenyans.
Utawapata huko. Na ndio wanafanya mambo hata wao waingizwe huko ndani, tuungane, tuende barabara moja ya kwamba huyu si Mkikuyu, huyu si Mjaluo. Sisi in the army hatuna hiyo maneno. Everybody is a Kenyan.
And Kigoli is wearing a Kenyan flag, not where do you hail from? Are you Luya? Are you Kikuyu? Are you what? And he's wearing that's the beauty of it. And close it for us, Kigoli.
Thank you very much. I think our
it has to be 30 seconds.
Okay. Yes, everybody.
Okay, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you very much. Let me say that this is a defining moment in this country. And we must streamline our revenue sources. We must ensure that the revenue collection system is as efficient as it should be.
Yeah.
Because if we get it wrong at the system, you know, the result is as good as the process.
Right.
All right. Now, moving forward, what do we need to do? In this country, we have enough to sustain ourselves, but poor management and misallocation. You know, you cannot spend what you don't have. You appropriate what you have. And we want to have a public sector or system that is alive to the fact that as a country, these are the challenges we face. Now, what do? We have a growing population of young people that need to be absorbed. So how do we absorb them? And these questions of how, where, when should guide the decisions that the incoming government is going to make. Finally, I believe that this country has so much potential that it can surpass expectations. But our problems always begin with politicians. And whenever we, the citizenry, have a chance at the ballot, we will not vote because Major is able to deliver. I'll look at him from a tribal lens, all right? I'll say, is he from my tribe? Has he given me anything? If you expect a politician to come and bribe you, expect that that politician is getting that money from somewhere. And that money has to be returned. And because that is the ticket to Parliament, I have to steal more money so that I come and bribe you after 5 years. So if we, the citizens, whenever we have a chance, will get it right and say, I want to vote for you, Linda, because your agenda, your plan, your program is practical. It is pointing in the direction the country needs to go. Whether or not you have given me anything, I'm going to vote for you. Right. That will be making progress. And
we have
finally,
we have to close.
The schedule.
I will take it from you, unfortunately. There's always another time. Yeah, it has to be 30 seconds. You have seen my producer here, so she's telling me you have to be out of this space. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Linda. I think we have talked about so many things. I will not repeat myself. What I want to tell you is that there's two individuals that I want to celebrate today. One is William Ruto. The second one is Wafula Chebukati. Because William Ruto ran a narrative of hustler nation to a point whereby he has won an election and there is no violence. Again, when you look at how we have been conducting our election in the past, if you compare to the recent one, the just concluded election, general election, you realize this has been the most accurate, simple and verifiable election that everybody could see, even outside the world. They were able to follow and they saw a very transparent process. So we need to celebrate Wafula Chebukati and tell him that he keeps it on. So we need him in other capacity in the future because I know he's going to retire.
Yeah.
But about William Ruto, this is a genius politician of our time. Because he's the only person who copied what Moi did. Moi was a very successful politician. When you compare him with the likes of Uhuru Kenyatta, Moi used to mingle with the people. Even the time he was leaving the stage, we realized that he was a very powerful man. Then we have realized that William Ruto profiled the three families, the Otinga, the Moi, and the Kenyatta, and he was able to win against them. So this is a genius person. And I believe the simplest thing of running the country will not be an issue to him.
Well, I hope such will be the case. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We have to be out of this place, but I look forward to invite you some other time. Remember, this is our country, and therefore it is incumbent upon us to have such discussions that are healthy. And the leaders are picking. They are watching for us to get to know what way forward. Definitely, they have to listen from the people, and this is the best means of them hearing what it is that we have as a people. And when we're talking about priorities, then they'll know the buttons to press. Edwin Kigoli, Ayiro.